right. So yeah, let's talk about dissemination of information. How to give your reader the right information at the right time. Big mistakes. Big mistakes writers make. Mind dumping at the beginning of a chapter. Holy shit. How many times do you have that character stand there and give that long, drawn out, 6 paragraph speech of everything that's going on, and you're going, you got to need a break now. Come
Yeah,
on.
you just
We've all
want to
seen
start
it.
shooting him. Yeah, you want to shoot
I
him.
mean, we've all been stuck writing something like that. And we try to break it up as best we can, but come on, we've all seen it. And it just kind of screws up the story flow because nobody's going to stand there in the middle of a room and tell you an entire dialogue of everything you need to know. It's not going to happen. It's not like you're going to have the bad guy who's got the good guy hanging up there and he's going to tell you his intricate plot, 7 paragraphs long about how he got here. Come on.
So that
Bad.
begs the question: is there such a thing as a data dump of critical info for your reader, or are we obliged for that very reason, that excruciating, massive block of shit that's going to put people to sleep? We are expected to, I suppose, just to get it done, but does it dole out in increments throughout the chapter? Is it blasts here and there? What works best,
I
and to
think
what degree, right?
I think that depends on whether you're talking about information that has directly to do with story or information that has to do with concept. And also where you are in the story. Like, are you at setup in the beginning, or are you somewhere in the middle where you're in discovery phase, where you're doing the revelation sort of stuff that usually happens, I don't know, like 2/3 of the way through a story. When you're bringing somebody into a world, I guess that's the first question is like, are you doing some sort of like complete immersive, like fantasy style world where the world building is half the story to begin with? Or are you just going to like toss somebody into this like crime fic thing where you're like, okay, so this is what's going on, moving on now, that sort of thing. So genre specific for sure, I think, to start
Well,
out.
I mean, yeah, genre. Well, let's talk about the worst offender of all, science fiction. I mean, honestly, as a science fiction writer, I will be the first to agree. How many times
Boy.
have science fiction authors paused in the middle of a chapter to give you an entire dry recitation of the science and then continue the story? So, literally, as much as I love learning new things, there are ways to disseminate that do not include stopping in the middle of action or stopping in the middle of a story to
Yeah.
give a science lesson on gravitational drives. It just
And probably
it feels like it's dropped there.
one of the best that I can think of that's really good at in educating you as you go without sounding like a lecturer was Crichton. He could do amazing little tiny snippets of info that would make you go, oh shit, yeah, oh okay, instead of making you glaze over.
Right. He would
Do
parse it
you
in
so
throughout the story.
Yeah, exactly, and it needs to be part of the story. So what I don't know if you do this, Ray. This is what I try to do is tell the story and where it incorporates science a little bit more than somewhere else. Then it's really crucial not to bulldoze them with the science. It has to come in teaspoons and let them
That's
digest it and
true.
move on,
Yeah.
because some of these concepts, right? It has to be as though they're watching a surgery happening, and the surgeon is saying, I'm going to cure this person's ass falling off by reattaching some spinal, unless it is at least understandable day to day, it's going to kill them. So how do you get a complex scientific concept across without sounding like a haughty asshole, like saying, here's me telling you to show you how smart I am. I'm going to bulldoze you with this science, and then it'll oblige you to go look it up somewhere else, and you'll go, holy shit, that guy knew a lot about this topic. Yeah, he took 4 months to research it. In doing that, he's a douchebag writer. That I can't stand that shit, which Crichton didn't do. You're right, he parsed it out. So is there a cadence to it? Is there a measure?
Well, I think there's always a cadence to it. I mean, always a cadence to it.
Well, there's a device to it too. You want to go back to Crichton. Crichton used, and I stole this. Crichton used incredibly enthusiastic, dynamic micro characters to give information out.
Yes.
I created an entire
Yeah.
character to be able to communicate a little bit of science that I needed in my third book. Created an entire character, and she's
That's a great way to do it. That's a great way to do it because it gives a character and it makes it a little bit more believable because you can have that. I do mine dissemination of information as characters learn things, and then I do them as jokes. I will do an entire little scientific
beam.
It's a tractor beam. That's right. I did an entire thing where one of my characters explains a gravimetric system using the ability to pull items to it using a centered gravity wave with crystals, and the captain goes, a tractor beam, and he goes, no, it's a gravitational tractor beam. So that was just it was great because it was part of the story. It gave a little bit of a joke, but it gave the information needed for that scene.
So, but that's
without being dry.
Perfect, especially in science fiction, because we have a conversation between one character and another. There's a learning process, a transfer of information, and the writer, the reader, everybody else is standing there listening to this happen. And for some reason, it's nowhere near as onerous as stand there. I'm going to give you a monologue and describe messenger RNA and how I can corrupt it. And if I have this as a discussion between two characters, Glacia created a character for this purpose. Yours is I think Ray is a little bit more like mine. We have a plot sequence that is going to incorporate the science, and that interaction between the characters. It's not a sleight of hand. I suppose the reader might think of it that way, but at the end, you're eavesdropping, you're looking over somebody's shoulder, and you're learning as you go. That's a really good way to disseminate info.
You're right. It is a really good way to disseminate info. But dynamic characters, spreading out the information. I have read books, and I won't even go into particular authors. I have read books that have some of the most ornate, incredible space battle scenes that are about as scientifically accurate as you can get. The problem with, in the middle of the battle, they will actually explain to you gravimetric warp drives and literally space light bend at certain speeds and how the ships actually react and how they shoot. And it's like, okay, this had been great right before, and then give me the battle. Don't try to break it up with the science with this. I understand the speed of relativity. I understand two ships coming together at a set speed will not see each other as correctly fast as they will slowly. I understand that. We've all been through physics. And I get if you want to explain that, there are ways to do it, but not in the middle of a space battle. It just always kind of got me.
Well, that's kind of like what that's almost when somebody's a little bit more in love with like the fiction they can create around science.
Ooh, I'm glad you said that.
And that's true because we all do research on our stuff, right, as science fiction authors, and we get excited about learning this new cool thing we just learned. We want to put it in the book. We forget though that we're telling a story. We're not. We want to teach a little bit, and that's great because I've learned some great things in books. So there have been some wonderful little tricks that I've learned from books, reading it. It's how you disseminate. And you're right.
It can't it can't be a lecture or a white paper because it just isn't going to work. You're wrapped up in that battle scene, and it detracted from the excitement and the well-written battle scene. And no, that's exactly right. You have to prep it and support it later. Yeah, but you have to have fed them something before it starts.
Yeah, if you're gonna do any sort of scientific revelation within a scene, especially if it has any action to it whatsoever, if it doesn't fit into a single line of snappy dialogue, it does not need to be in there. Like, period. Past that, you're just showing off. You're like, oh, look, I know this stuff. Here, look, let me show you too. It's like Carl Saganing the whole thing, which is adorable and everything, but
it needs to be believable because you need them to do this. It's important to the distinction between preaching right at the reader and letting them, along with the rest of us, stand 2 feet away and listen to two characters go through this in what is an organic, natural conversation. That's the place you can seep the information into their brain, listening to two other people talk about it. It's really eavesdropping is what this works out to be, but it's not overbearing, and it's not it isn't so commanding of the scene that nothing else works, and it detracts from the entertainment value. They're there to be entertained, not necessarily, we educate them because we have to, but we need to entertain them.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah. And so we
Hold
don't.
on, I'm going to cut his head off.
Are we not entertained? Right, there we go. A little gladiator action there.
Sorry.
I like that.
Were they
That was
still out in
Gladiator.
It was in the hinterlands. They hadn't gotten to Rome yet. They were still out in that place with the orange and Eritrea
where he
or
does
some
the
guy.
whole "Are we not entertained?"
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I dug
Stuck
that, man.
it
That was
twice,
fucking
and
cool.
then, man, that was a great.
But yeah,
Okay.
and that's one of the things. Science fiction, very much about a Fender at it. If you are a scientific author, look at your book. If you've got a class in the middle of it, you might want to rethink that. Look at Crichton's. Look at some of Crichton, and this is just my personal style. I like disseminating information. I love the idea of the characters. The jokes I use were a great conveyance. Idea of making it learn as the character does. The point is, don't give them all the information at once. I can tell you from personal reading that I will learn more from a Crichton book than I will from some others, because as soon as you start hearing the dry science, you're waiting for the story. You stop learning, you start waiting. So it's better to deliver that as part of the story, because as you're coming in as a reader, as somebody who wants to be entertained, you're learning something from this bubbly character or this great little joke or something that gives you that information you need. And that's part of the story that keeps you in it.
You're getting the information whether you like it or not, but you're still wrapped up in the story because he is a great storyteller. So for us, the obvious thing to be learned begins and ends with science. In Ray's world and in my world, it's science. What about Glacia's world, where she's not overriding us with science? What are the parts that you need to educate your readers on? Where
she's blinded us with science. Couldn't help it. I know it's bad. I know. Oh,
great song. I love that song.
Sorry. Go ahead.
You're terrible. Fuck.
I know.
What the rhythm of everything, man.
What do you see as important stuff that you need your reader to know about? What are the things that you have to educate them on when Lark Hendricks is getting in her Aston Martin? What is it that...
Her Aston Martin. You're funny. I mean, my stuff is less science until I got to my latest book, which actually does have some, I suppose, like technically science fiction in it, though not sci-fi. So mine's more like procedural stuff, and I opted to take my time. I did not do any expositionary info dump at any given point in time in my first book, because I accepted the risk of being measured, and I knew that was a risk, and that so like you have risk over here, which is info dump, and then you have risk over here, which is measured information breadcrumb leaving. That's really
too much, too little.
Right. And so like I can do this, this is the world and this is what she does now. Get ready, we're going to do it now. Or I can be like, she's doing something. Do you want to know what it is? Guess you'll have to follow along with us.
That's okay too.
I have a half a page where one of the characters explains to a few other characters how they're supposed to behave in this scenario. He's like, don't do this shit while she does what she's doing, but you still don't really know. You wait and you have to go along for the ride in order to see what's going on. And it takes half a book. Honestly, I was committed to sort of like the fantasy model of taking time to create a world and that was complex and intricate and full and faceted, and so
once your premise is established, you're doling out in very small, individually digestible bites.
Absolutely.
You don't,
okay. And I mean
I mean book long, so it's not like you get
series long. Absolutely. But I mean, to go along with stuff that's probably more akin to what you guys do in book 3, I actually do have, like a science fiction thing that takes place in a fairly large scene. which I've had multiple readers be like, that chick is awesome. She needs her own books. We love her. And she's literally in like almost none of the book. She has maybe 2,000 words of the book. But I knew I needed this information in there. It was vital. It's not vital for that book, but it's vital for future books. It has to be in there. It can't go anywhere else. And so I was
serious. Oh, that's good. Excellent point. We all write series books, and that is a different deal completely, because there's stuff that's strategic that you have in mind. Ray's really bad for this. He's seeing all the way out 3 books in advance, but he has to. He has to do that because there are things that are happening here that may not be overriding, but they're going to come back and bite you in your ass if you don't understand them later. And he has to play. That's a bitch. I have to do it too. And it's just like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do this.
Yeah, it's a lot of planning and a lot of notes.
A lot of notes.
God.
A lot of notes.
And then you're like, do I release it this story? No. Next story? Maybe. No, it's better for this story. And you do that whole plan.
Do I tease it now? Do I tease it again? Have I teased it
even
enough?
tease it.
I'm about to reveal. I should tease it one more time just in case anybody forgot.
That's
See,
right.
you know, but
because they forget.
As a sidebar, though, I mean, what we're doing is giving our readers a whole lot of credit. Like, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I mean, like, we've all made I don't know if it was conscious for you guys, but it was conscious for me. I was like, I'm going to write to somebody who can keep their shit together, who can read this and remember stuff and actually pay attention and be able to, you know, the reader who wants to think ahead. You know, the reader who wants to solve the mystery or make those suppositions and leaps. That's the reader that I write to. That's the reader that I want. So that's why I'm okay with sort of like that slower, you know, feed out of
I don't know. I'm not sure whether I'm afraid of doing that. I am afraid of focusing my my audience the way you do. I tend to. I don't know that I don't dumb things down. I get pounded on for being a little nebulous and a little cryptic here and there. But by the same token, I need the average run-of-the-mill science fiction reader to enjoy this. I don't have the luxury of stature or following to start being a surgeon in these books. They need to be generally acceptable within my genre, within Ray's genre. It might be different in your world, but in mine, I have to scattergun some of this stuff, and it's difficult because it prevents me from really zeroing in on something and saying, "Ooh, let's see if they catch this." I can't do it. I think
that you guys are probably doing it the right way. Honestly, I'm probably doing it the wrong way, but I don't know. I just said fuck it.
I like the sound of your way too. Honestly, that's
I would love to do that. Well, I don't know that we don't though, Ray. Think about this. There's bits and pieces in our books that are they're clues, and if somebody walks along and isn't paying attention and misses them, it doesn't mean it's going to ruin the story.
Rob went pause.
You're
good. Go ahead.
It's cool as shit when someone zeroes in on one of those little bits that Glace is talking about, that obliges them to have paid attention. It tells you whether they did or didn't. And some are going, some are going to forget it the minute they put down book 2. By the time they get to book 5, they have no idea what you were talking about. Others go, "Oh, I remember this from book 2, and it gave me a stiffy, and I couldn't stop reading it, yada, yada, yada."
I think it depends on how invested everybody is.
Just really,
you got to be careful, because that thing backfired too. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I've had it happen where you write a scene, you craft it, it's perfect, you love it, it's got a piece going to the forward, and nobody mentions it. Everybody remembers the gimmick you put up in like chapter 6, and you're like, really? You had to go back and read it? Oh, I did that like 4. Really? That's the thing? Okay. Yeah, it's just stupid, but it'll annoy you every time sometimes. Right. Their favorite part is something that you were like, you know what? It would be cool if, and you put this little part in. It's not really a part of it. It's just kind of a neat little gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to go along with the, you can't really count on what a reader is going to remember, and so you can't bank on them remembering the important shit. The way I craft mine is I try to make mine the kind of book that if somebody goes back, if somebody finishes the whole thing and then likes it enough to go back when it's finished and read the whole thing in sequence, they will read things along the way that make them go, oh,
Yep.
That's
Well,
what I want.
I like the, I like the ones who get a hold of me and say, my God, this story has, potential. I read the story, I've read the characters, I read the technology, and wow, what if you went like this, and what if you did this? And I'm going, he's got the same rabbit hole I do. Literally, they just come out, they're talking about the story and the potential in different paths, and you're like, that's somebody who's going to read the next book because he's got
it. Is. It's gratifying when they do that because damn well you've connected with at the very least a like-minded person, but when they internalize in the first place, they did exactly what they're supposed to do, which is suspend disbelief and go into that world that you created. That by itself is cool as shit. When people refer to your characters as though they met them or they want to.
Oh yeah,
there's nothing better than that. I can't stand that guy. I hope you kill him in one of these books. I love hearing that because it's like, he's an asshole.
Oh, God,
right? We've been there.
When my reviewers did that, I have a character who will not die. Yeah. I have a character who will not die, no matter what you do. He won't die. Yeah, I get so many pigs. Dude's like Jason, just kill him. Yeah. He's like a cockroach. He never died. They're pissed at him. They are. He's a horrible character. He's an evil little shit. You can't kill him.
Imagination, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great.
That's as rewarding as anything you will get is when somebody has a favorite or somebody they really hate, one of your characters, and they want you to do something about it. You've got the power, author. Kill this motherfucker and do it now. And it's hilarious. I love that. I really enjoy it.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's also much fun when it goes the other way too, though.
When they like somebody and they're cheering for them no matter what.
And you kill them, they yell at you for it.
Yeah. I haven't done that yet. I'm
turns into a misery situation, right? You don't want that.
Yeah, well.
That's an interesting story all by itself, is choosing where you don't. Speaking of information dissemination, have you guys killed off a main character?
No, I created a character to kill him off. I didn't. I pussied out. I was going to do a main character, and then I was like, I need every one of them. They're
you had a central character, and you wasted them.
2 of them.
Damn.
Yep.
Yeah, she's basically R.R. Martin over here.
She's bloodthirsty.
She'll find a character. It'll be well written. You'll love the character, and then she'll kill it. It's great. You can find another one.
I took Ray's way. I created characters to kill them.
The character.
I need somebody to die here because some shit's going to happen. And I'm not using up one of my characters. These are people I know and love. I'm not doing that shit. I'll go get some new jackass and pull him in and then blast him, and I'm not going to feel so bad.
I think that's the problem, is they're all playing. Yeah.
That doesn't really apply to me, though, because of the world that my MC lives in. I can always go back and read those books.
Is it inherently a dangerous world? I mean, I don't see anything really.
I don't know. They're cacking off characters left and right, so something's obviously wrong.
There's a lot of spoilers there, and it's second book. A lot of shit goes down in the second book, man. A lot of shit goes down in the second book, actually.
But you're not shy about wasting a central theme character? Damn.
Oh, technically speaking,
that's pretty hardcore.
Technically speaking, I killed 5 in book 2, but some of that was rectified later.
So,
I'm glad I have my knives up here, because if I didn't have my swords and knives, I might feel nervous.
Exactly.
She's kicking off main characters over here.
Do you have? So this is a good question, though. In all seriousness, there are reasons why I don't kill off a main character. To me, there's 2 reasons. One is I'm going to need them 3 books from now, which I know Ray.
They're planned 3 books ahead.
Damn well.
I gotta plan them up here. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's
so I can't waste them now. And it also seems like I fear running the gamut of somebody with Klingon pain sticks jabbing at me because I killed someone as a vehicle. It was a gimmick, and I don't need to kill people off gratuitously. This ain't Hollywood. This is not a movie.
Right.
It's not a television show.
This isn't
If
like
you don't
Quentin
like it,
Tarantino with the body count.
yeah, I don't see the need to do that. People don't die. If they died that frequently in our worlds, there's somebody's doing something wrong. And if it's not
You're
the
right.
story, then I'm not going there. So you are a bloodthirsty beast, and I
Well,
admire
here's the
it.
thing, though, right?
It.
It's exactly what
Totally.
you're talking about, right? You're like, wait. You're like, I'm not going to kill off this MC because I'm going to need them 3 books from now. The way I needed the first MC that I killed off, the way that I needed that MC 3 books later was dead.
Okay, well,
You
that makes
needed
sense.
to.
You need them dead.
Okay, so you were going to
Unfortunately,
kill
when they're
them.
dead, they're basically paperweights in my world. So
I
yeah, no,
needed
no.
that MC dead for 2 reasons, and I don't want to go spoiler, but one was direct
Fair
and
enough.
one had to do with the prot, and the other had to do with other things that are major spoilers. But yes, that MC had to die.
You got an undead, yeah. You got a whole thing you can do with them. I get it.
Well, see, that's the nice thing about my world.
of-
Yeah, I can always go into mind world, and the other
Go
MC that
see them, yeah.
ends up in
That makes sense.
When Ray and I do it, it's 258 degrees below zero, and that asshole ain't coming back except an ice cube.
Nope.
That's it.
We could make a very nice statue.
Yeah, no, mine exist in memory. All my books are about memory, so killing one is
Yeah.
I'll just softer than that. You know, I mean, they're still dead, but.
So dissemination of information and the methods of doing it.
Oh, we haven't even hit fantasy yet.
Yeah.
The second big offender, fantasy. Not that I want to name books. Not that I want to name books. But you do not need like 5 pages of a description of a hobbit's fucking foot. I just want to tell you that right off the top of my. I'm serious. That annoys me. I'm just saying, you don't need it. You know what the fucking thing looks like. Thank you.
The king of the bracelets.
Oh God! And you know what? Doing a fantasy, I find myself running into that problem too, because you create these worlds that are so real, so detailed that you find yourself getting lost in the world and going away from the character. So one of the things you have to do is bring it back to the character. Remember where you're looking at it from. And that's one of the problems. A lot of these want to introduce you to their world so bad that they spend more time than they need to above and beyond the characters to describe the world, which is great, but there are times it does interfere with the story. There are. You don't.
Weaving it into the story as though I like to think of it as somebody walking through a trail and looking left or looking right every once in a while. We need to talk about them. They need to see and watch this person going down the trail, not forever wandering off into the sticks. Look right and look left. A little bit by little bit, incremental again, they get a bigger picture of the forest that the Hobbit guy, foot boy, is in. Oh God, I know. Fantasy though, geez. You're talking about removing so many. It is. The structure disappears like alcohol on a flat rock in the noonday sun. You don't have to give a shit because you're making it up. You're making up everything.
Okay. So a lot of authors, when they're dealing with science fiction, who are good, do bring a lot of detailed information, but they will do it by breaking it up again based on the scene when it's relevant in the story. Brian Saunderson does it very much with the Mistborn series. There's a whole bunch of others. E.E. Knight with the new Vampire Earth series will do that. We'll spread out that information throughout a set. We'll actually give you what you need at the time. It does not do a huge monologue of a character standing there giving you 20 paragraphs of information. And those are the books I like the best because they do give me the information as I need it. And I can, as long as I get a basic kernel, I can usually fill out the rest. They can give it to me later if they want to, but they don't have to. I'm starting to get the ideas, But fantasy's very much in love with their worlds more than their characters some of the time.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this is really so much about love as it is about pride. You're talking about some really excellent storytellers who are good at doling out information.
Oh my God.
You're talking about some fantasy writers who get really, really bogged down in describing their world. You're talking about some sci-fi writers who get really, really bogged down in the science. What this is about is pride. You have sci-fi writers who are so proud of all the information that they've compiled through their research. You have fantasy writers who are so proud of this intricate, beautiful world that they've created within their mind. And then you have storytellers who are proud of the work that they're making. They're proud of their story. And so as a writer, that probably means that if you are having an info dump that has to, you need to identify if that's a matter of pride. If that's a matter of you being like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. And if that's not your story, then you probably need to step back and be like, okay, how can I dole this out just a little bit more?
Well, I mean, the best way to do that is to play the scene out in your head. Honestly, it is. Play the scene out in your head.
Live it
because
in your
you can
mind's
see it.
eye.
Watch the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah. And you, when a character does something out of turn or weird, you're going to notice it. You know, if somebody's standing on the ridge overlooking dragons fighting, he's not giving you 6 paragraphs of the lineage of the fucking dragons at that point.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to do that. They're looking at the dragon fight. You know,
Yeah.
you may get that later when they're talking about the dragons. You won't get it at that moment.
It's contextual. He's exactly right. His space battle from earlier. But hold on, Glaze. Think of this. I accept your premise about prideful science fiction writers and prideful fantasy people who have created this world, and then the storytellers who walk in the world between with angelic wings and halos over there. Fuck them. Listen, here's something we run very close to. Ray and I do on the science part. Hobbit Boy does on the fantasy part. But I will assure you, depending on who's reading your stuff, if you cheapskate them on the science, they will say, you could have researched this a little bit more because it's really vague and it sounds to me like you sound like a Wikipedia dickhead. And they would be right. If you can't demonstrate, even if you don't tell them the whole thing in excruciating detail, you damn well better be able to weave in enough that you can demonstrate you understand the science. We've said this 1,000 times, Ray. Do whatever you want with the fiction in science fiction, but you damn well better have the science part right, because Luther and Skeeter and Bumpus, who are Trekkies and lunatics for this shit, physics majors will call you up and say, you piece of shit. Do you have any idea how amateurish you look? So it can go really disastrously bad in the other direction.
But is there really a need for that dissemination of information, or can you just be demonstrative in your work that you understand the science? Must you actually articulate it, or can you just demonstrate?
There are times you have to explain.
You have to. There's an art to it. Let's face it. That's what authors do. They find that sweet spot in between too much and too little. It's what you're obliged to do. Exactly. If you don't have a really clear understanding of it, you might edit it back, rein it in a little.
Yep.
But there are people who are skilled in the art, and I ran into this in Echoes. A very nice lady who was a doctor in San Diego zeroed right in on how to disrupt cell replication, and it was a vehicle to a suspense because I had my character in a bad way now, and I've got the violins going staccato in the background because you don't know whether she's going to live or she's going to die, and this sucks. Right. And the reason why was because her very cellular structure could break down. She's going to turn her into Jello. Somebody do something. Cool. But if I didn't have the ability to explain what interferes with and destroys cell replication, that one little bit, enzymes and protein chains. If I hadn't got that, I didn't go into apeshit detail about it, but I had to go into apeshit research to understand it. And so now I have gotten to that one little place, and this doctor said, ha, bingo, you got it right. I love it when science fiction writers get the science part right. That's what she said in her review. And I'm running around the room like a jerkweed going, yeah, somebody got it. That's cool.
That's a really good indication that you're doing what you should be doing, right? That you've done research, then you leave the research over here. You clearly gave
That's a good point.
all the other readers enough information that they understood why there's a risk and why they should be scared for this character. But you also gave enough information over here so that this expert was like,
Yeah, that's the nuance.
He actually was paying attention in class.
Right, I was paying attention. Hey, you passed me another. Anyway, Ray said at the very, very beginning, that's very unkind, and I resent that. I like that, and I approve
That was
of it.
funny.
But
I agree.
it's the little bits, the spoon feeding. Sometimes you do have to spoon feed to avoid that bulldozer, and how you weave that into the story to where it is informative without being overbearing, where it is part of the art of storytelling that keeps people wanting to read some more, that's compelling to them without being a distraction. That's hard to do. It's hard.
Well, and there are people who haven't quite got it yet. And I will tell you that by saying you can sit there in a character and go and explain an entire 4 paragraphs of how amazing their weapons training was and how awesome and detailed it was. Or you can get them to a scene where they pull out the swords and use words like expertly and precision, and master, and actually get across the point that these people know what they're doing without needing to have that 6 paragraph monologue. There are other ways to do it.
That's an excellent point. That's nuance right there. That's effective storytelling is what that is. It's an excellent point.
I had a character do it. I just got done editing that one. Yeah, I just got done the
I know
character.
what scene you're talking about.
Where she played her fingers along the leather harness of her belt to get to the weapons, and she found little ties and expertly, quickly just pulled them apart to free the guns. Tells you everything you need to know. She's a master at that, man. She just boom, boom, rewarded, boom, ready to go. So here's somebody who's competent.
A line or two got 4 paragraphs to and there's so it is surgical sometimes, and there's a good point.
And it's hot. If she plays and gets rewarded, it's hot.
Yeah.
It was sexy, for sure. It was sexy. But it's still story. I mean, you can have a page of that bullshit. Hey, this person started doing this and that, academy and all these other things. Or you can have a page of a fucking action scene.
Well, and I read her the paragraph because I know if it sucks, she's going to berate me for it, and that's okay. So
shut up.
That's a good thing. No, it's a good thing because that way, no, Ray, what the fuck was that? That was like liquid fried Kentucky retard. What the hell are you writing? And that's okay. But then I know I need to edit it some more. But yeah, it's how you play it. It's that nuance. Using nuance is a great way. When you get to those big ones, try to break it up. If you can't, look at ways you can shorten it. What information are you actually trying to convey? It may not be a scientific contraption you're trying to put out. It might be the end result laser beam, which is powered by 3 honed crystals. And there's your 2 sentences that gives you the entire dynamic of what you need to actually describe. If anybody wants to learn about crystals, light amplification, there's a Wikipedia for that. You have the basics. They can find out more.
In any fiction, though, there are other bits and pieces that are crucial information that fall into this bucket. Ray and I, we center a lot on the science because we have to. But what about an ordinary character from any fiction genre? There is something crucial that the reader needs to know: a backstory, a financial condition, a mental twitch, a tick, something that they carry.
Destitute.
Who knows?
Is always a good word that it basically tells you everything you know about that character. There's always those little words you can use that are nuanced.
But that's you don't have to go talk about either their withdrawals and deposits. You can say that there's ways to do it. But what I'm saying is, it's not always a tangible bit like a science or technologically driven item. It isn't necessarily go. Glace, what were you going to say?
Sorry, I'm looking for something to write it down with. I think when it comes to backstory and characters and stuff like that, the importance of that backstory is the effect. It doesn't matter so much. Its effect on the character and the story that's happening right now is the important bit. And so, like, all of my characters have crazy intense backstories like people do. They have shit back there that they don't want people to know about. They have shit back there that's traumatizing. They have shit back there that they're embarrassed about. I know all their secrets. I don't tell them though, but I do show the reader what these things make these characters feel and how
absolutely you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't know their secrets.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
kind of, it's not, it's a nice part about being an author because we know all kinds of horrible shit about these people and we might not tell you about it, but we need to understand that because you're exactly right. It colors the way we describe them. It changes their dialogue. There's, again, we're back to nuance. If you don't have that backstory, you might have it behind your back all the way through that book. It would be a totally different book if you hadn't have sorted that out when you were world building to begin.
Absolutely.
Are you drinking a shandy right now, just out of curiosity?
Who?
Ray's looking back at work. What? I didn't do
What the hell? I got a
anything.
polar
Maybe-
pop, man.
it's
you
a
talking
polar
to
pop. Yeah.
I think she's
It looks
talking to
like you
her.
drink- She's got a summer shandy in that thing.
Some
That's what
like
it looks like.
green
It's
tea
apple cider, nice try.
concoction.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah, it's got antioxidants, shit like that. All right. she's
I
being a
need
hoe.
all of the antioxidants I can get my hands on.
Yeah, that's somebody's going to show up with a pillow, and you're going to see what antioxidants look like. But
That's
anyway.
right.
Okay, this is a good
That's
one. I like
right.
this. I learned a bunch.
Hey,
Anybody have any questions about this? Because we talked about this a long time ago, and I don't know if we ever really went anywhere with it. If people listen to these things and they want someone to zero in or answer some little bit on something, what do they do? Tell them how to send us a note.
Twitter author and change page. We watch it, man. We look at it like a hawk. I mean, one of us is going to answer a question if you haven't.
I
think we've done it. Yeah,
I have a couple of friends who listen to the podcast. One of them is wants to write, but may not. He's probably never going to get there. He just really likes this discussion about nuance, for example. And so he asks me, what do I do to get something, a secondary bit or a clarification? Is there some way I can do that? And I absolutely. You can do that on Facebook. You can do that on the AIC website. Some people just like I have another friend who just watches from Florida. God bless her. That's Roxanne down there. And I know she's going to be watching this.
Hi, Roxanne.
Roxanne.
She's toying with the idea. She's creative as hell. And so it's little bits and pieces that we help people across.
And
technical, not so much, but the creative stuff is just as important. So go to the website, go on to Facebook. If there's something is unclear, axe.
Yeah.
The most immediate way to get a hold of any of us is definitely at Authors in Chains on the Facebook. Somebody is on all the time.
Right.
Website works, Twitter works, but Facebook is definitely the fast one.
Or you can go to a local bail bondsman and they'll be able to get a hold of us very quickly.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Local mental institution is a good way to.
Yeah.
She's a good way to do it. Nope, I agree.
All right. Cool. Good show, guys.
Very good.